Seed to sovereignty. Yeah, the farmers like to see their products from seed to shelf, and so we're kind of displaying that here today. The growing fields right there, the processing, and also the building with it, or the end product.
That's Danny Desjarlais, project manager for the hempcrete project at the Lower Sioux Indian Reservation. This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. Hello there, my name is Eric Harlock, and I just got back from a 3-day trip to the Lower Sioux Indian Community in southwestern Minnesota, where the tribe officially opened their hemp campus, where they will process hemp to make hempcrete houses for the people of their community. They call it Seed to Sovereignty. And today we will hear my interviews with members of the tribe who were involved with the project, including hemp visionary Earl Pendleton, tribal council treasurer Kristi Shane, hempcrete mixmaster Robert Larson Jr., and Danny Desjarlais, who you heard in the intro. But that's not all. The event attracted people from all over Minnesota, all over the country, and from many Native American tribes. So on the show today, I'm bringing you even more Indigenous voices. We will also hear my conversations with Mary Jane Oatman, founder of the Indigenous Cannabis Coalition and a member of the Nez Perce tribe of the Columbia River Plateau. We'll talk to Rob Perro, founder of Can Indigenous, the first independent Indigenous-owned hemp company in Wisconsin, and a member of the Bad River Band of the Lake Superior tribe of Chippewa Indians. Plus, I will talk to Nick Hernandez, founder and CEO at Makoche Agriculture Development in Porcupine, South Dakota. He's a member of the Oglala Sioux tribe and a citizen of Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. Got a handful of non-Indigenous voices for you too, and by that I mean a bunch of white people. We got Ken Meyer from Complete Hemp Processing, Matt Marino from Homeland Hempcrete, Derek Doman from Horizon Hemp Seeds, Bob Albertson, he's a Minnesota inventor who says he invented the glue for Post-it notes, plus a handful of other people. So very interesting group of voices for you today. I hope you enjoy it. So this was quite an educational journey for me, and I'll get into that a little bit more right after these messages. This week's episode is made possible with support from IND Hemp in Fort Benton, Montana, where they believe in the goodness of hemp. IND Hemp is a family-owned, mission-driven food, feed, and fiber company that's bringing new opportunities to farmers in Montana and across the American West. Learn more at indhemp.com. Today's show is also made possible with support from Forever Green, distributors of the KP4 hemp cutter. Introducing a revolution in hemp harvesting and setting a new standard for harvesting quality, speed, and efficiency. The KP4 prepares hemp for ideal retting and easy on-field tedding, raking, and baling. Easy to maintain and designed to withstand the punishments of hemp harvesting. The KP4 hemp cutter, available only at hempcutter.com. And finally, our show is made possible with generous support from Americhon Cast Hemp. That is the Pennsylvania Hempcrete company that is owned and operated by Cameron and Melissa McIntosh over there in the Lehigh Valley. Americhon has become one of the leaders in hemp construction here in Pennsylvania and across the U.S. And Cameron was an integral part of the story that we're going to hear today. He's been working with the folks at the Lower Sioux Indian Community for a while now. And in fact, he just sent me a link to a trailer for the Patagonia video. It's called Green Buffalo, and it documents the work that Danny and the crew at the Lower Sioux are doing with hemp. I will have a link to that on the show page for this episode, along with everything else. All right, so here we are. It's the second full week of September 2024. Today's September 11th. By the time you hear this, it probably won't be. All right, so I'm going to let you behind the curtain a little bit. When I find news nuggets, it's because I'm Googling them. I Google hemp industry news, and then I sort it by most recent. And this week when you do that, you get two flavors of hemp industry news. The one flavor is all Lower Sioux. The other flavor is all Gary Newsom. governor of California. And so since this episode is about the Lower Sioux, I think this news nugget should be about Gary Newsom. So what is the governor of California saying in this story on hemptoday.net? He says it's a disgrace and it's a shame, and the industry bears full responsibility for not policing itself, for the proliferation of these intoxicating products that are hurting our children. Yeah, he's got a point, right? I think it's time that we claim hemp linguistically to be what we know it is. What do I mean by that? Well, I think the word hemp should clearly denote the plant that you use to make things out of, whether it's feed, fiber, fuel, all of that stuff. And then we should use the word cannabis to describe the medicine, right? Like medicinal cannabis would mean CBD, CBG, THC, all of those things. So however much the solution here is going to be a regulatory solution, I think there's also linguistic work that we need to do. We need to reclaim the word hemp and have it mean what we know it means. And that might be a super unpopular opinion among some cannabis folks. So, hey, do you have an opinion on this? Send me an email. Anyway, let's go back to Minnesota and celebrate with the people of the Lower Sioux. So, the people of the Lower Sioux Indian Community are part of a larger tribe, the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota. These were a great people that lived sort of like the northern Great Plains of North America, right? These were the people that hunted the buffalo herds, which by the mid-19th century, the U.S. government realized that, they could get rid of the indigenous people by getting rid of the buffalo. And so they systematically killed the buffalo, resulting in all kinds of terrible conflicts, including the Dakota War of 1862. And I think if you're going to try to understand what's happening at the Lower Sioux Indian Community, you have to learn about that war and the devastation that it just caused for these people. After learning all of this, I am just blown away, just absolutely astounded by the joy and the hope that I see on display there now among the people of the Lower Sioux, right? The Hemp Project especially comes to mind. It's so hopeful and I love it. It's inspirational. I am really tempted to just babble on and on about how much I don't know about indigenous culture and how much I started to learn while I was in Minnesota, but you don't need that. What you need right now is to hear from the people who are there making it happen. So here we go. All right, so here I am with the Earl of Hemp, Earl Pendleton. Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Great to be back with Lancaster Farming.
Yeah, so the first time we met was in Colorado a couple of years ago. You told me that your dream for the tribe, and then I've interviewed you a couple times, and now here it is. It's the grand opening of the processing facility. So what does that feel like, Earl?
It feels like a big step in the right direction for sure. I'm really proud of all the team here at Lower Sioux to get us to this point, but it really is a point that the pressure's on now. We have to learn the entire fully integrated process that we've always dreamt of doing here at the Lower Sioux. So processing is the next step. Construction has been great so far. It's the farming of the hemp that we've had a great success this year. So the processing is the missing piece, and here we go. It's time to show if we can do it.
Right. Were you involved in sort of the planning and building of this facility here?
Yeah. I've been here from the beginning, and it was a kind of a lonely effort for a while, but it really took off when we hired a planning and grants department led by Nora Murphy, who was just amazing. I would say things and she would make them come true. So, it was construction at first. It was a simple plan. We built some houses in the community and we provide some jobs to the local members that have been in the construction industry and kind of keep that in-house and control that process a little better. And then I seen Just Biofibers blocks one year. I can't remember when. I'm thinking it was around 2016 or 17. And ISO hemp, and I seen blocks and wall panels, and I was like, that's how we need to build. That's going forward into the future. We need to start planning a facility so we can make those. And that's where Nora came in and made that happen, really.
All right. Well, we need one of these back home in Pennsylvania. So I'm curious, like, what's something like this cost? Are you prepared to talk about some costs, general terms?
I mean, in general terms, it's going to take a few $1 million to build it and equip it. So depending on the equipment, of course, but this building, it's a couple $1 million. So
all right, so it's like a pole barn, right? Can you describe?
Yeah, it's just basically a pole barn reinforced, but it was bid out and done by Loeffler Construction. So they built our casino expansion here, and they put their seal of approval on it, and I just needed something with 4 walls and a ceiling, so I'm really happy with it.
Right. And then what processing equipment did you outfit it with?
That is from Ag Solutions Inc. out in Montana. Andrew Bishop is the principal over there, and we conducted a feasibility study through ARI, which is our Minnesota agency, the Agricultural Utilization Research Institute, and they researched the companies out there with processing equipment, and for our needs, which was clean and construction grade herd, they ended up recommending Ag Solutions Inc. And we know that this equipment is also being used in Minnesota and Waconia, or variations of it. And so we're kind of got some synergy going with Hemp Acres out there in Charles Levine, who, we want to work together. We're not competitors here in Minnesota. We really respect everybody who's in this industry, and we know the difficulties of trying to do something, that there's not a blueprint out there for you, and really you're going into something that we know what we can do with the herd, but there's 20,000 uses for the fiber that, I just need one, but so it's really hard to find buyers for the fiber yet, but that's the chicken and the egg. It's we need companies that need to utilize fiber into their products, but then they need a domestic source. So it's
complicated.
We're the first egg, I guess, in the.
So in a word or two, what does this facility mean to the people here in the community of the Lower Sioux?
Oh, that's tough. Word or two. Well, I mean, it's seed to sovereignty, right? I mean, we want to control our housing development. It's our number one need in the community. It's what everybody wants, is healthier housing. But we just need housing of any kind. But, we can do it better with healthier materials and natural materials. And we can control that with this processing facility in our ag department. That's true sovereignty on the side of housing. So seed to sovereignty.
All right. Thank you, Earl. It's great to talk to you. Hi, Kristi Shane. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a few months. We met out in Colorado at the NOCO thing.
Yes.
And we shared some meals together, and the fry bread, and we had the lunch at the weird Stephen King hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the most fun.
Yeah. How you been?
I've been good. Just working, working on everyday judgment calls, I guess they call it.
Yeah. Well, introduce yourself so people know who you are and what you do.
Okay. My name's Kristi Shane, and I am with Lower Sioux Tribe. I am the tribal treasurer for Lower Sioux. And I'm celebrating a year today in my position.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So 1 year down, 3 to go.
Right. So it's an elected position onto the tribal council?
Yes. Yep. So I got elected on last year, and just been working, with the state, the governments, working with you guys. It's been amazing. I've had a great time.
Good. Yeah, this is exciting. This is a lot of cool stuff happening on your watch here, right?
Yes, yep. A lot of learning for me. When I first got into this, I didn't know one thing about hemp. So Danny has been very informative and, asked us to come along, So any chance I've got, I've came along because it's up to us to go find the money to fund this. So right now it's coming out of general, so we want to make sure that we can find funding, to support it, and we have. Yeah. We've come a long way, so I'm pretty excited, especially the funding dollars that we're transitioning, through the EPA. There's dollars everywhere.
Yeah.
For climate.
Right.
So.
I have like so many questions. What does this place mean to the tribe?
For us, it means sustainability. You know, we want to make sure that all our community members have homes, you know, and appropriate, because we do have a lot of members with asthma or, you know, and the control climate is probably the best part of it. You know, you go into the hemp house and it could be 100 degrees outside. You're going to take that at least 50 degrees off of that. Yeah. So sustainability is probably our biggest thing, you know.
All right. So we need something like this back home in Pennsylvania. So just ballpark it for me. What's something like this cost?
This campus, God, I don't want to put my finger on it because I'm going to be wrong. You know, I'd say over $100 million.
Wow. Okay.
But that's me.
Yeah. And you've had some like grant help and some.
Yes.
Okay.
Different funding. We were able to come through with this. Not too sure on too many of them, but a majority of it did have to be funded through general, you know. But this is what we wanted for our community. Our community voted on it. We take a survey every year and we ask our members, you know, what would you like to come of this? And so when they answer, you know, they let us know they wanted this. So
right. How large is the community?
We're a little over 1,200 members.
Okay. And do they all live here on the reservation?
Majority of them do, but most of them live in town. We have a town about 6 miles, and then we have one a mile down the hill. So we have surrounding towns, but that's our goal, is to be able to get them all out here, you know. Right. So right now we're in the process of getting a lot of land. We just bought this land down here. It's called the Stinky property. And so we intend, you know, like right here, we would like to build a new school. For right now, we do up to kindergarten, babies up to kindergarten for Siwu. Siwu would like to expand within their 10-year plan. And so
What's
we'll
Siwu?
have a big, Siwu is our education for our babies. Okay. So, and we would like to expand that over into here and just go up to 4th grade, you know. Got a lot of things going on, so.
Right. So apart from this amazing place, what are the other bright spots?
Oh man, the housing development. We got our dispensary coming soon, so we're pretty excited about that. You know, we've been working on that for quite a while since I've been in here. You know, we started, so it's been a year coming. This one, you know, this has took a lot longer, but the hemp campus is here and it's ready to go. You know, I'm excited to see what it brings out because it's going to be something for everyone. And now I just heard this morning about hemp feed for chickens. That's amazing. You know, that's another thing to sustainability. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Kristi.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Robert, could you introduce yourself for us?
My name is Robert Larson Jr.
And tell me what you do here.
I'm the hempcrete mixmaster here at the Lower Sioux.
The mixmaster. That sounds cool. Do you have 2 turntables and a microphone?
No, one day. We'll get there.
All right. So what is it that you like about your job?
I really like my job because it's unique. I think I'm the only person in the state who's really trained to do this, so that's cool to be able to say that.
Right.
But it's just it is a labor-intensive job. It's not easy, but it's rewarding when you see the end product.
Right. And tell me what the end product is going to be.
Healthy, sustainable homes for the next generations.
That's amazing. Tell me how has your sort of journey been getting to this point? Like, you've had to learn a lot?
Yeah, we've had to learn a lot for sure. We were all experienced in building, but none of us knew much about this hempcrete stuff besides reading it occasionally online. But we've gotten all the training from all the people across the country it's been really helpful, and we feel pretty confident with it now.
Cool. It sounds like there's something else happening.
Right.
Oh, is that the
Yeah.
This is maybe not the best place
Right,
to do the interview. All right. Well, thank you, Robert.
Yep.
Well, Danny, this is it. This is your moment to shine here. This is cool. How are you doing?
Good. Feeling good.
Yeah. Can you just introduce yourself to us?
My name is Danny Desjarlais. I'm from the Lower Sioux Indian Community. I am the project manager for our industrial hemp construction projects.
Probably the hardest working man here in Minnesota. Is that fair?
I don't know about that. My guys are pretty hardworking too. So yeah, we get it done.
Yeah. Well, so this is the ribbon cutting day of the facility. So now, like, you're a processor, you got the farming going on. You're making it happen from seed to, what's the phrase you're using?
Seed to sovereignty. So yeah, the farmers like to see their products from seed to shelf, and so we're kind of displaying that here today, showing them that the growing fields right there, the processing, and also the building with it, or the end products. There's I think 12 booths here that have different end products from all over, and so I think it's a really good turnout, and I think it's a successful event so far.
Yeah, I think so. I've never seen hot dogs that big before, though.
Yeah, that's a Midwest thing, man. Yeah, they say everything's bigger in Texas, but those people never been to the Midwest.
So I was talking to the guy from the Linder Farm Network. You were telling me about that, and you were pretty excited that they're here, right?
Yeah, so the Linder Farm Network is a network here, a radio station in Minnesota and throughout the Midwest that covers all things ag. Basically gives you the rundown on corn, soybean, pork, whatever prices, and they do it throughout the day, and I've always heard them ever since I was a kid, and so I thought they'd be a great asset to have here and to advertise for us, and so that's what they did.
Yeah. Did they get some people out here for you?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I heard their commercial on the radio at least a dozen times, and I'm sure all the farmers in the area, they all still listen to the radio, and so I'm sure they all heard it as well. And it plays throughout the day, not just on one station. It's they take over basically every radio station in the area for 10 minutes out of like every couple hours throughout the day. And so it's
Of the people who are in attendance here, are you getting a sense that there's some, farmers from outside of the indigenous community?
Definitely. I think that was my greatest takeaway from this is there's so much good engagement with the presenters and with the attendees, and I didn't know any of the people asking the questions that were in the crowd, so they weren't our community members. They must have been, local farmers or just people that came to, and a lot of them were farmers, and so I'm really excited for the potential, I guess, after this event for us to get some more acres in the ground. So.
And what do you have tillable acres here on the reservation?
So we only have 500 tillable acres, and we only do about 100 of those in industrial hemp. The rest is corn and soybeans. And, we're looking to make a way bigger impact than that. We need to build a lot more houses at a lot faster rate than our 100 acres can provide. And so that's really the goal here, is to get the local farmers on board, growing us some more material to build more houses with.
What challenges remain for you? Like, what else do you got to do to maximize your potential here?
Yeah, well, this is just the first step. This is a great milestone for us here, but we have a lot of work to do now. This is just the first step. There's a lot of work. We're ready for it, I guess, but this just opens up the floodgates for more work for us. The more acres we plant, that's more hemp we got to process, more buildings we got to build. And so, yeah, it means a lot. This is a milestone, but there is still a lot of work to be done, and we're still learning. We're not claiming to be experts on anything, and we're willing to, learn from anybody. We're trying to grow ourselves along with the local farmers, and I think it's a full team effort, and when we're all doing it together, it's just going to make it easier for everybody, and it's not going to be just like us trying and failing, it's somebody else will come and, give us a hand as well. That's what we're looking for. We need a hand here. We don't have enough acres for one, and even if we did, I think we would still need other farmers, because you can't just keep growing hemp on hemp on hemp. You have to rotate it as well, and we just don't have the land.
You mentioned, like a lot more work now. Do you have are there challenges with getting labor?
So we actually have a job posted right now, and we've had 13 people apply for that one position. And I think typically there's maybe like 2 or 3 people that apply for the positions that get posted. So I think we have a lot of interest. That I could get 3 more Ear Easy crews out of those 13 applicants. And so I mean, I want to hire everyone. I'm like, let's buy more Ear Easy, let's buy more mixers, and let's go, really make a difference. So I think the buzz that is kind of getting created around this material, it's getting a lot of people interested in it. And so, yeah, I think we're poised to really make a big difference.
Yeah. Do you live on the reservation?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Will you build yourself a hemp house?
Yeah. So right now, I'm actually in the process of building my house. My mom has a few acres that I got to get a chunk of, I guess, and I'm going to build right on there. And so just waiting for the funding to come in through the housing department. And yeah, I'm going to build my house out of hempcrete. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of other tribes here today, other than your tribe. Can you talk about some of that other sort of interconnectivity amongst the indigenous groups?
Yeah, so we have 11 federally recognized tribes here in the state of Minnesota, and we sent an invite to all of the other tribes, plus I think a few in North Dakota and South Dakota as well. I counted at least 10 different tribes that have been here today. So yeah, I think that's a good step, and I think being a tribal community, it gives you almost an advantage to building with hempcrete. You don't have to go through as much red tape as you would if you're building, say, in a large city or something like that. And so I think it is the perfect blueprint for tribal communities.
Now, is that because they don't have the building codes, or what's the reason for that?
On our reservation, we set our own building codes. We follow our own codes, but every building that we've built, we've gone above your standard codes. We've overbuilt everything for the simple fact that we're working with hempcrete and we don't want anything to fail. And so we want to overbuild everything just to show that, and so that's our kind of mindset going in. We don't want, if we're going to be kind of the first ones doing it, we don't want to fail. It's going to set everybody back if we do that. And so we got to, we feel kind of responsible to have to make a quality product.
The event here today, what surprised you, or what's your favorite thing, or I don't know, what do you like about this?
Just the turnout, and I think all the engagement from everybody. I think it's been great, seeing everybody, familiar faces and new faces. I think it's just, I think this is we're on the right trajectory, that's for sure. So.
All right, Danny, thank you. I'll let you get back to it.
All right, thank you.
All right, so you heard Danny mention that there were a bunch of other tribes there that day. So the next handful of interviews are with indigenous folks from tribes outside of Minnesota. Mary Jane, could you introduce yourself for me, please?
My name is Mary Jane Oatman. I'm a member of the Nez Perce tribe and the executive director of the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association.
All right, and tell me what brings you out to this event here today in Minnesota.
I'm here for the grand opening of the Lower Sioux Indian Community's industrial hemp campus. It's kind of full circle for me. I was out here just prior to the groundbreaking of this amazing campus, and just really excited to see them inspiring other tribal communities about industrial fiber hemp opportunities.
Your tribe back home in Idaho, they're inspired by this? Are they making efforts to bring fiber processing?
They are. We have a plan approved by the USDA, and I think that we're like most tribes trying to figure out how not to put the ox before the cart in this industrial fiber universe. And so that's a part of the work that I do on behalf of my community, is looking at some of the supply chain logistics for building out industrial fiber processing centers.
I know here they have a need for community housing. Is that an issue there on the reservation in Idaho?
It's a need for the reservation in Idaho, and it is identified as one of the most urgent needs for every single tribal community across the country. There's so many of the other social, mental health issues that are overlapping with the housing crisis in Indian Country, and we're at about 68,000 home backlog across Indian Country.
Wow, so being able to build houses that you grow in your field is just a really attractive option for the people, yeah.
It's an attractive option because it's also an opportunity to build a hyper-localized supply chain and circular economies where our builders, our tribal community members, our people that are doing all of the sales for those homes are within the tribal infrastructure as well. And so this is a first opportunity to really create that circular economy within tribal communities where the enterprises are buying the homes from the tribal housing building side, and that money stays in the tribal community. We usually see hundreds of millions of dollars leave our communities in housing building projects, construction, trades, and it leaves. This is an opportunity for it to stay.
Community, yeah. It's like as I've watched what's happening here at the Lower Sioux and gotten to know Danny, it feels like the tribe is just, they're taking their own agency over things, and just that's inspiring to me. Just, I'm not an Indigenous person, but just realizing that we have agency, and we got to work together to employ it, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that's inspiring about this project is other tribes seeing how they can embrace tribal sovereignty within the confines of the rules and the regulations, and finding areas like within bio-based building materials where it's kind of lacking in our country, to look at what are the international residential codes and how can we deconstruct those and apply what's applicable to a tribal community and embrace those. And so tribes leading with regulations, codes, ordinances that are green and environmentally friendly within hemp as a bio-based building material is exciting. That's what this is all about, is tribes leading the way in an emerging industry.
Is there a nugget or two of wisdom that you can share with me here that you're going to take home for your tribe?
The biggest nugget of wisdom is that it really does take a lot of community education. There's still a lot of fear around the plant, and so when tribes move forward, not just within our communities, but what the Lower Sioux community here has demonstrated is that there's been a lot of outreach to the traditional farmers so that they can see how they can benefit. They can have some of the education that's needed so they can see opportunity. And we have so many non-native farmers here at this tribal event. And that was intentional because the tribe sees that this is about the entire region and all communities and not just the tribal community. And I think that that's what hemp in my community really has the opportunity. So that's the gemstone that I bring home with me, is that when we move this forward, it's inclusive of all communities, because there's still a lot of fear. And by, opening up the doors and breaking bread with each other and just having those early difficult conversations can eliminate so many complexities in a project like this that is needed. And we need facilities like what Lower Sioux did here in every single region across the country.
Amen to that. Cannabis loves community. That's what I think when I hear you talk about what cannabis is doing here. So.
Absolutely, and what Lower Sioux has definitely showcased is unity in the cannabis community.
All right, Mary Jane, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Rob, could you introduce yourself for me, please?
Yes, my name is Rob Perro. I'm the founder and president of the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association. I'm also a hemp farmer.
Okay, I was just talking to Mary Jane, so you two are affiliated in that organization, right?
Yep. Yes, we are. Yeah, we've been working on the advocacy front to build capacity for tribes for cannabis and hemp for 3 years now.
Wow. Okay. Tell me more about, sort of your reasoning for founding that organization.
Well, first off, I'm a hemp farmer. So I've been growing hemp since 2019, and it came out of a necessity for me. I was looking to partner with like a national trades association for Indigenous farmers, and nothing existed for cannabis and hemp. So we created it.
Okay. And you are also in Idaho?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh, in Wisconsin. Oh, okay.
Not very surprising that, a nonprofit was built out of two prohibition states like Idaho and Wisconsin. So we wanted to, sort of connect. I was lucky enough to meet Mary Jane at an economic development conference in Vegas 4 years ago, and she had created THC Magazine and had written an article about Candigenous, which is my brand, my hemp brand. So it was serendipitous, and everything else, has fallen into place since there.
Well, tell me about back home. Tell me about the farm. Tell me about the tribe.
So I'm Bad River in Oneida and German and Polish. I'm a hemp farmer. We're growing 1 acre of CBD hemp, sun-grown flower, and then we're doing 50 acres through a Climate Smart Commodities grant of a tricrop, a joker strain. So it's fiber, grain, and flower, cannabinoids. So we're in the process of that now. The crop's going great. The work we're doing with the tribes in the state is phenomenal. We've had a number of tribes from Wisconsin sign resolutions of support for the association as well. And we're seeing people just kind of in the network working together, getting things done.
Excellent. What would you want, non-native hemp people to know about what you're doing, or, anything?
So I think there's some good information to understand land base, and that 70% of the undeveloped ag land is owned by native country. So just thinking about in regards to where are we going to grow it, we have the land, we have workforce that needs to be developed, we have diversity in our economy that needs to happen as well. So I think the idea of indigenous hemp and cannabis is a really attractive proposition, and you're seeing it happen and take place here with Lower Sioux with their development in the last 3 years.
So what do you think of this place, and what are you going to take home, knowledge-wise?
I'm trying to take pictures and record as much as I can. We have a harvest coming up, so immediate is how are we going to do this, and what's the best way, because you want a good yield, right? So I'm just so impressed with what they've done, and seeing Earl with the idea and then the implementation and the execution to where they're at now is inspiring. This is really, we're going to take this information back to Wisconsin, and there's Wisconsin tribal leadership here as well, and we want to work together to help build supply chain, an indigenous supply chain.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
Hey, just a quick note on this next interview. It was getting a little windy out there, so the sound quality here leaves a little to be desired, so I appreciate your understanding here. Hi, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Nick Hernandez. I'm the president and CEO of Makoche Agriculture Development on the Pioneer Indian Reservation, home to the Oglala Lakota Yate.
Okay, and where is that in geographic?
It's geographic. It's in the southwest corner of the state of South Dakota.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and so how is what they're doing here inspiring what you want to do back home?
It's very inspiring. Today we got to see the demonstration with Cameron McIntosh with the Spray Easy system. But for our organization, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, one of our initiatives, we have 5 strategic initiatives, and one of them is actually hemp development initiative. And so the inspiration is already embedded in our organization, and seeing systems like this today is something we want to develop.
Danny told me about the housing crisis here. Is that a motivation for you? Is there a housing crisis for your people?
Oh, definitely. So the Lower Sioux is part of the Ocheti Shakoi, which is our nation, and the Lower Sioux is another band of the Dakota people, and I come from the Oglala Lakota, and that's another sister band, and so we are dealing with the same disparities, right? The same issues related to health and wellness, and housing is one of those, and the need for housing, and the different systems and solutions related to housing development.
Yeah. So do you intend to set up something like this up there?
Oh yeah, I was here with my team. I brought 5 more team members here, and then my hemp director, Dion Holmquist, was here. But she's been in conversations and networking with Danny and the crew, and then heard about this field day today, and then we all came up as a team today to come learn about what Lower Sioux is doing, the innovation, right, the forward thought and the trailblazing, and come to be a part of the field day.
Cool. I'm having a little wind issue here, so I'm getting a lot of wind in my head. So maybe we can step out of the wind because I want to keep talking to you.
That's fine.
I love your podcast. Thank you. Anyway, so what they're doing here is inspiring you. You're going to do something like that on your reservation.
Yes. So then, as part of our nonprofit organizations, we have 5 key strategic initiatives that we operate. One is to develop a multi-purpose community food hub, and so seeing the systems like this with like the biodynamics, the opportunities of what hempcrete and hemp solutions could create is something we want to adopt, and we're wanting to build a multi-purpose community food hub as our first initiative. The second one is that we have a food systems institute, so we want to educate and train community members. Our third one is a hemp development initiative, and that's kind of why we're here, is to be on site, to learn about the different solutions and ideas, but to see like what Indian country is doing to lead like the innovations and opportunities. And so we come to support, our sister band community, and to adopt something, right, and bring it back into our own community to be able to develop, as in growing hemp or developing processing systems like that Lower Sioux is doing.
Yeah. What do you think about the phrase seed to sovereignty?
That's a huge thing, especially when you talk about sovereignty. It's talking about feeding yourself. And our focus of our organization is on food systems, so agriculture and food systems development. And so being able to plant something and nurture it, harvest it and process it, package it and store it and feed ourselves is one of the key opportunities that we are creating as a nonprofit organization, but as a community-led indigenous organization also. And so seed to sovereignty is first and foremost our thought based on our culture, because the food systems are the foundation of all cultures. And so a phrase like that is something that we adopt and we hold true to everything that we do.
Yeah. I know here the land is limited in what they can farm. What's the size of your reservation and your tillable acres up there?
Oh yeah. So I'm from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. It's a reservation. I think it's like in the top 6 largest reservations in the country. So it's about 2.8 million acres. Majority of it is rangeland. So we have a lot of cattle that range. Agricultural, I would probably say like soil cropping land is about between 300,000 and 400,000 acres of agricultural land.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you growing any hemp there now?
No, there is nothing yet since the 2018 Farm Bill. We are still navigating the regulatory processes that we adopted, I should say, that are hugely restricted. And so what we're trying to do right now is work with the tribe to break those down and make those useful for our community to actually grow hemp.
Okay. And South Dakota has been the largest fiber producer in the past couple years. So once you guys get up to speed, you're just going to help bring those numbers even further up, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. For an organization like ours, our focus is on seed and oil, right, for consumption, human consumption, but also as an organization and especially a community member that needs viable resources, we want to utilize hemp for the properties, the industrial properties of insulating homes like we just seen today, but also heating of homes, right, in the different properties of maybe creating hemp pellets or hemp wood to be able to heat our homes, because a lot of homes' primary source is wood burning stoves. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's great to talk to you.
Oh yeah. No, thanks for the opportunity to share our work.
All right. From one end of South Dakota to the other, our next guest here is Derek Doman from Horizon Hemp Seeds, followed up by Ken Meyer from Complete Hemp Processing, both in South Dakota. All right. Derek Doman, could you give us an introduction?
Yes, name is Derek Doman with Horizon Hemp Seeds. Been in the hemp seed industry for 7 years now.
Wow, that's a long time. That went by fast, though, didn't it?
Blink of an eye, my friend. And trust me, we've had our trials and tribulations, but with everyone coming on board in the recent years, we're finally getting some traction. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, and the last time I stood next to you to interview you, it was in South Dakota in one of your fields up above DeSmet, I think.
Yes, sir.
A lot's happened since then, right? South Dakota has pulled into the lead as the top producing state. So you have something to do with that, right?
I think so. I mean, myself and John Peterson and Ken Meyer, we work tandem with each other, and without those guys, I wouldn't be selling any seed. They're the ones that have contracts and, give the farmers a place to take their crops. So we're doing it in lockstep together. So it's nice to see, the positive vibe from it. So very exciting.
Good. Are you doing certified seed?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that process. Tell me about the importance of certified seed, etc.
I appreciate that question. So we only deal with certified seed, from dual purpose to fiber only genetics, whatever it may be. The importance behind certified seed is you're checking a lot of boxes on a quote unquote insurance plan or policy. You're guaranteeing germination. You're guaranteeing the seed being free of noxious weed seed, anything else that might be mixed in. And more importantly, you know what you're getting. You're not getting something that could be bagged up and saying it's this variety and it might be something else. So what it's doing is it's setting the farmer up for the best possible success right out of the bag before it even gets in the field.
Okay.
And the other neat thing behind it is we're able to control our availability and our volumes much easier than bringing something in from overseas where we can't control the volumes or amounts. We can't control the timeliness of when we can get the seed. So we're trying to minimize risk from our standpoint and more importantly, the growers. And with certified grown here in the United States, that's why we're doing it.
In order to reach the potential that we see for the hemp industry here, industrial hemp, we need a lot of seed, right?
Yes.
Are we going to be able to produce that much seed by the time we need it?
We're going to need a lot of seed. You're dead on correct. The biggest issue I see with scaling up production that quickly, for example, if we need 200,000 acres in the next 2 years, we're not going to have enough seed for that right now. So we all need to work together on forecasting what we're going to need. And that starts with the end markets, with the processors, back to us, the growers. So it's a 2 or 3 year process to get seed, grown out for those years to come. And a lot of people don't understand the criticalness with that, if that's a word, that it takes a long time to get that going and get that volume up there. And the unfortunate thing with hemp seed is it doesn't last for very long. Even if you're storing it in climate controlled situations, freeze it in the winter, etc., it's only going to last a couple years before the germination is bad. So it's really tough to scale it up that quickly. So long-winded answer to your question.
That's good though. No, it's something that people need to think about, right?
And we'll be able to do it. We have the growers, we have the farmers that are willing to grow the certified seed. It's just we need to see that market demand tick up much quicker before we start going out and producing a bunch, because we're just we're one of the little guys. We can't afford to grow out a million acres or 1,000 acres of seed and just sit on it and not be able to get rid of it. So,
all right. So what's your takeaway from this event today?
This is fantastic. This is one of the better events that I've ever been to. Honestly, it reminds me of Ken Meyer's event last year with the ribbon cutting. We have people here from all over the United States. I'm blessed to work with this crew. I met Danny and Joey this last winter, started talking to them about seed, met Earl and some of the other crew, and they were, thanks be to God, they were willing to trust me on seed supply, and I think they're overly impressed with what they got, and they're already looking towards next year. So I'm just excited that they're literally going to take this crop from seed to a house.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Super cool. Seed to sovereignty is what the phrase that I kept hearing. That's so cool.
It's unreal. I don't know of another place that's doing that.
All
overjoyed to be here.
Yeah, cool. All right, it's good to see you, Derek. Thank you.
Hey, you too, buddy. Thank you.
Ken Meyer, hello. How are you?
Doing great.
So what brings you here to Minnesota?
I'm excited about what Danny and all the rest of the crew is doing here at Lower Sioux. It's amazing how they're fully integrated from growing the crop to now having processing, and then with all their skills for building the hempcrete housing or hemp lime construction.
Will you give us a quick introduction just to remind listeners who you are?
Ken Meyer, president of the South Dakota Industrial Hemp Association, and also one of the owners of Complete Hemp Processing. We have a hemp stock processing facility that's 2.5 hours from this location.
All right, I saw you and your colleagues give a little presentation this morning about the educational work you're doing up there in South Dakota. So how's it going back home?
Really well. We continue to have lots of farmer interest in growing hemp, particularly right now where corn is at a historical low as far as pricing. Farmers are really looking for another option to have income on the farm.
Are you, and I say you, like, is South Dakota going to break its record from last year? Because you guys are like the top producing state, right?
We have been the top producing state for harvested acres of industrial hemp for fiber for the last 2 years. I don't think that we'll continue to hold that number one spot in the next year because other regions of the country have brought on more processing. And wherever processing happens, then the acres follow.
Right. And you've been sort of instrumental in helping these guys sort of get started here, right?
We've definitely shared a lot of information back and forth. The large portion of the tribal council and Danny and the rest of the crew have come over to tour our facility, and we definitely share a lot of knowledge back and forth on the processing portion of things.
How would you sum up the sort of hemp industry here in 2024?
It really seems to be gaining some momentum right now. More and more people are becoming involved. There seems to be a little bit more interest and also capital coming off the sidelines and coming in to help hemp go.
That's what we need, right? Show us the money.
That's right.
All right, Ken, it's great to talk to you.
Thank you.
And then quickly traveling from South Dakota to North Dakota, here's Matt Marino. Matt Marino, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Matt Marino, the co-founder and president of Homeland Hempcrete, based out of Bismarck, North Dakota.
North Dakota, all right. So you're not too far from home, but pretty far from home.
Yep, yeah, we're probably about 6 hours away. We're in the middle of the state in North Dakota.
All right. And so you're down here helping out with one of the demonstrations. Can you talk about what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, so we'll be doing a talk about hempcrete building and specifically some of the projects we're working on, like the prefabricated panel system that we've been developing and starting to implement on our projects. We've done one with Lower Sioux the end of last year, and so we'll be talking about that a bit and then be going over a demonstration using the Easy system with Cameron.
Okay. And how did you get your start in building with hemp?
Yeah, so it started back in like 2017 or so is when we kind of started to go down the rabbit hole of all the things that hemp could do, and it was like really overwhelming but really exciting at the time. And we started to, after a while, started to think of like, how could we make a difference utilizing this plant and some of its potential, and started to align it with some of our interests. And so we looked at different things like in food and then CBD for a bit. And then ultimately it's like the most industrial thing that we could do that I'm already involved in and interested in is developing and building homes. And so that's what we really wanted to focus on, and we saw the potential and have been working at it ever since.
Okay. And what do you think of what they're doing here at the Lower Sioux?
I mean, it's great to see it all come together. It's kind of amazing. This is what we see where we see the potential with hemp is kind of that decentralization of like, we don't need massive factories or setups to supply a whole nation. We can have these local and regional hubs that can be self-sufficient and support their own building needs and use materials within their community, support the people and hire people within their communities to kind of build an industry, which is really exciting.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, it's good talking to you.
All right, now for just a little bit of Minnesota color. First, we're going to talk to Bob Albertson. He was an older gentleman at the event, and once I started talking to him, I realized he's had a very fascinating life. Hi, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Robert Albertson from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm an inventor with about 300 and some patents, and some of the patents I have is on I developed the glue for Post-it a number of years ago. I'm the one that invented the Mr. Coffee and the weight eater, cassette tape player, and many other things. Like I said, I've got over 300 patents. I've produced about 40 products that are still on the market today making money for companies.
Wow. Could you say your name one more time?
Robert Albertson.
Robert Albertson. Well, it's an honor to meet you. What brought you out to this hemp event today in Morton, Minnesota?
Well, right now I have a company called Albertson Energy. We have developed a hemp carbon to replace lithium in batteries. Basically, our hemp carbon that we have available very soon, it will be used in a solid-state battery which we have developed. The solid-state battery will last 8 times longer than a lithium battery. It costs 1/5 the cost. It's non-explosive, will not burn. It's environmentally friendly because our battery is mostly made out of carbon. And so the thing is that mainly, as an example, Ford Motor Company, there's an article on CNN saying that they're losing $44,000 per every electric car they make because of the high cost of lithium batteries. This way, if we, with a hemp battery, carbon battery, would be 1/5 the cost, so you'd be able to buy an electric vehicle for less money than a gas car. So it's going to be more affordable, and it's going to make the sales of electric cars go great in the economy.
What do you need to do to scale that technology up?
Right now, it's done. We're just right now looking for raising money now to go forward to promote the product and set up a factory.
Where are you based?
Out of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
All right. As an inventor, where do you come up with your ideas? Like, how do you start inventing?
Well, my dad started a number of years ago. My dad was chief engineer in Minneapolis-Moline for 30-some years. And so I come from a farm background, and basically I developed a lot of products in the farm industry. My dad was the one that developed the hydraulics on tractors. With Harvey Firestone, he developed the putting rubber tires on tractors. He invented power steering, which Moline was the first one to have power steering before the cars. And of course, from there, I've developed all these different products. It kind of runs in the family. And basically, I get the ideas from going upstairs. I believe there's other planets that are far ahead of us in technology. And I've learned how to go upstairs and research different areas that I'm interested in as far as seeing others in the industry that have developed products in other planets, and it's a gift that God gave me, and all my inventions has come from upstairs.
When you say upstairs, can you describe how you get there?
Well, it's just a matter of programming yourself. It's just you got to relax, and it just you get your brain to a point to where you actually receive the messages from upstairs. And I've learned this through many others. The founder of Google got his whole inspiration by going upstairs. I believe the founder of Tesla Motors, Musk, also does the same thing, going upstairs. The thing is, some of the inventions that come about today, people have to go someplace else to get it. It's not something that's available on this earth. I teach a class on how to go upstairs to get your ideas, and I've done that for a number of years. And how I got the idea, I was an outside engineer to 3M, and Bill McKnight was the CEO and founder of the company. I developed the glue for them at one time for the Post-its. And he says, Bob, I'm going to send you to a class. You're going to have to be gone for 2 weeks, and you're not going to be able to call your wife or anything. And you're going to learn how to really go upstairs and get the inspiration. The class that I had there was 12 of us. My class was Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, McGinnis, founder of MCI, and the founder of the holiday stores, McGowan. All were in my class. And I got to know them for years afterwards. And as example, the founder of Walmart, Sam Walton, he today, and Walmart would not be as successful today if it wasn't for Sam Walter getting the inspiration from upstairs.
That's incredible. I see you're wearing a U.S. Air Force veteran hat. Can you tell me about your time in the service?
I spent 8 years in the reserve out here at Minneapolis Airport, and I went in when I was 18 years old and got out in 1963. And I learned a lot about the military, being 8 years in the reserve, and I developed several inventions that are in the aircraft industry right now that all came out of being in the Air Force.
All right. What do you think about what they're doing here at the Lower Sioux community?
Oh, that's fantastic. I see what we're doing here. I mean, if we get the Native Americans behind us, as they are right here in the Lower Sioux, this is just the beginning of a fantastic industry. It has to happen. We had this, hemp was used during World War II, where they made fabrics out of it, they made rope out of it, they made duffel bags, they made parachutes, but then they were shut down because the oil industry wanted to produce oil products, and that's why polyester came along, and that's why they made hemp illegal for a number of years to keep us out of the business. Now that it's legal again as of 2018, now the umbrella is taken off and the thing is growing, and I think what it's going to do is you're going to see clothes. Henry Ford in 1927 made a car completely out of hemp. I feel that hemp for plastic would be a replacement for bumpers on the car. Right now, the bumpers in the car, they're junk. But you make a bumper out of hemp, it's going to give you more impact force and make the car safer for you. Even making the whole car out of hemp, you're going to have a much safer car in case of crashing, what have you, versus plastic and sheet metal. A nice thing about hemp, it's recyclable. Plastic has got something else coming because it's all coming from petroleum. We got to get away from petroleum and get back to something that's grown on our farmer's field, and that's hemp.
Are you an optimist that we're going to survive the 21st century as a species?
I believe so, yes.
All right. Thank you. It's nice talking to you, Bob.
Thank you so much.
In the beginning of the show, talking to Danny Desjarlais, he mentioned the Linder Farm Network. And I'm super curious about that. Like, is that like the Lancaster farming of Minnesota radio? I don't know. But their announcer, Dan Lemke, was on hand broadcasting from the event, and I talked to him. All right. Can you introduce yourself?
Dan Lemke with the Linder Farm Radio Network.
All right. What is the Linder Farm Radio Network?
It is a network of about 40 radio stations in the southern two-thirds of Minnesota that provides programming about 90 minutes a day for farmers, farm news, market analysis, keeping our listeners up to date on what's happening in the ag world.
Wow, that's incredible. How many reporters do you have?
Oh, there's about 3 of us that work, and then we, work with a lot of stations that have their own folks that we tap into as well. So it's a good network of folks, pretty much, again, all throughout Minnesota, all focused on ag issues.
All right, that's awesome. What are some of the big issues in Minnesota, ag-wise?
Well, we had some pretty dicey spring weather in parts of the state, some flooding, just some overall poor growing conditions right now for part of the state. There's parts that look good, but part of it really going to be a rough year. The commodity prices obviously not helping things. When you have a poor crop and poor prices both in the same year, that's not necessarily a good combination. So there's concern with that. Obviously, we have very active folks in farm policy, so Farm Bill is certainly something that a lot of the ag groups are wanting to get through to completion. So that's generally what kind of is front of mind right now. We're getting close to harvest, starting to be a little bit on the horizon. So that'll occupy their minds for sure here in the coming weeks.
All right, and I know it's corn and soy, but I've also learned you got some wild rice harvests here. And what other kind of specialty crops are you growing out here?
Oh, there's a lot. We do a lot of sweet corn, do a lot of sugar beets, a lot of peas, dry edible beans, potatoes in parts of the state. So yeah, there is quite a bit of diversity now. Obviously, looking at industrial hemp, and then there's some other specialty crops that folks grow. I mean, we've had folks looking at hops, so just a myriad number of crops that can be grown.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of what they're doing here at the Lower Sioux?
Oh, this is very exciting, very very interesting. certainly needing to find the opportunity, the markets to use the products that are being grown. But as witnessed by the number of folks that are here, if there's an opportunity for a farmer to grow something and find a profit margin, they'll certainly be interested in it if there's a market for what they grow. So yeah, it's very, very cool. Someone's got to be on the leading edge, and it looks like that's certainly something that this Lower Sioux community is willing to be, is on that leading edge.
Right. Do you get a sense maybe from like non-indigenous farmers that there's any like stigma around hemp, or like, can you give me a sense of how the rest of Minnesota feels about hemp?
Well, from what I mean, it's been on the radar for quite a few years, and we've been able to grow it for quite a few years. So I think some of that stigma is gone, and in my mind, it all boils down to the market opportunities. Again, if we can grow it, if there's an opportunity, farmers can and will grow it. I think it's as those markets develop, it'll certainly grow in the interest. But as far as the stigma goes, I don't think there really is much of that any longer.
Okay. How about like the CBD boom and bust? Did that run through your state like it did back home in Pennsylvania?
Oh yeah, there was some. I mean, that's something that I guess we didn't have a great deal of connection to. I mean, we watched it and saw as it happened, but it kind of came and went. But some things will stick, and so I guess we'll see how that proceeds from here on out.
All right. Does your farm network have like a digital presence, or is it all radio?
I do some podcasts. We do e-newsletter. We have a website. We do some Facebook. But our primary bread and butter is still radio. I mean, we have a lot of folks that are pretty familiar with the timing of our shows, and they know when the markets are on, and they're pretty faithful listeners. So we do have a digital presence, but again, the bread and butter is still broadcast radio.
Yeah. All right. Now, if folks back home wanted to check out what you're doing, is there a website?
Absolutely. linderfarmnetwork.com.
All right. We'll put a link for that on the show page. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. Thank you for accompanying me on my journey out to the Lower Sioux Indian Community in Minnesota. Thank you so much to the tribe for your hospitality. And thanks to all the folks who let me stick a microphone in their face and ask them questions. And thanks to all of you who are listening to this. All right, so I am headed up to Cornell early tomorrow morning. So I think next week's show will be interviews from the Cornell Field Day in Geneva, New York. All right, so anyway, my name is Eric Herlock. I am the digital editor at Lancaster Farming Newspaper, the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world. Check us out online at lancasterfarming.com. Do you have a question or comment, or you just want to send me a note? You can do that. You can use the email. You can send it to podcast@lancasterfarming.com. Until next time, I'll see you in the newspaper.
Industrial hemp.
This episode of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2024 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family. Today's show was written and recorded, edited, and produced by Eric Herlock. The music you hear throughout the show is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow. Yeah, you need to take the call?
Hey, I'm doing a quick interview with Lancaster Podcast. All right, see ya.